Welcome to the Living Superhuman Fitness Podcast, where we take you inside our gym, CrossFit Palm Beach, each week. It's here that we are creating new superhumans every day, transforming people's lives, helping them reach a level of health they never knew possible. We strive to answer your most burning questions on fitness, health, nutrition, training, motivation, mindset, lifestyle, and more. If you have a question, please email us at info@crossfitpalmbeach.com. You can also learn more on our blog, livingsuperhuman.com. And if you have a moment, we'd love a review from you on iTunes. All right, it's time. Let's stop being average and start living superhuman. All right, welcome to the show. I'm Andrew Frezza. We're here with our coaches, Dominic, Brendan.
Hey. Brendan, hello.
And Coach Zach. So today we're going to be talking about what is BeachFit and how it differs from CrossFit, who can benefit from BeachFit classes, and we'll get right into the show. So first question, is BeachFit at the beach?
No.
No,
It's
it's
not.
a big no. It is not at the beach.
None of us want to go work out in the sand every day.
All right, so a lot of people thought BeachFit was at the beach, so we want to get that out of the way first.
Not at the beach.
And how is BeachFit different than CrossFit? What does a typical BeachFit class look like? Let's start there.
Well, it looks, I would say, very similar to what we have in the CrossFit in terms of, we have a structured warm-up. We have some sort of explanation of what's going on every day. We go over the movements again, so it's not like we just put stuff up on the board and say, here we go, we're going to run at this. It's very similar to CrossFit in terms of that structure. What differs in BeachFit than CrossFit would be the amount of time we spend on certain movements. We definitely don't spend a lot of time going over a lot of details in terms of the lifts. We don't do any lifts in BeachFit. It's purely kettlebell, dumbbell, body weight work. So we don't do a lot of that. It is more of an aerobic workout. Definitely every workout has got an aerobic element to it where you're going to feel like you're moving and breathing and huffing and puffing the whole time. So it's just a little bit more focused on that. So you're going to spend more time actually moving around and doing work. That might not be as taxing as a CrossFit workout per se, and it might not be as mentally involved, but there's definitely a lot to it, so we'd have to go over some things. But we get a little bit more into the workout, I'd say, quicker than we do in CrossFit. In CrossFit, we spend a little bit more time both movement-specific warm-ups and then going over technique-related stuff that we just don't really go over too much in BeachFit.
Yeah, I think the thing that sticks out most for a lot of people is no barbells. That's probably the easiest way to put it. Mm-hmm. A lot of the barbell movements tend to be the more technical movements. That's not always the case, but especially with things like clean and jerks and snatches, we're not doing those in BeachFit. And since those things aren't there, we're not spending a ton of time on technique work. I also noticed that in BeachFit, there seems to be more time for things like core wads and stretching. So I don't know if you want to talk about that, Dominic, like what kind of the mindset is with that and how you guys try to incorporate that into most classes.
Yeah, I mean, we try to really focus on, we have like a pretty set template for every week where we have about a core wads usually on Wednesday for the most part. And then we have our Thursdays like our active recovery day where some of the BeachFit members always make fun of us when we say active recovery because they get a little bit more intense because they want it to be a little bit more intense. But we do a lot more stuff with that. And then we have a lot of time on like a Thursday where we're going just a nice steady heart rate the whole time and then a long stretch at the end of that. So Thursday's our big stretch day, but for the most part we stretch at least 5 to 6 minutes post-workout every day. And it's just a big emphasis on it. A lot of clients over there have some like prior injuries to before CrossFit or whether they got it in CrossFit or not, or just like sports related injuries from like what their childhood that they've had. and that they always talk about like flexibility issues. So a lot of the people from CrossFit go over there and do that. and they really focus on the stretching component after. So we really try to put a little thought into that, and it's not just like, oh, stretch your left Achilles for 17 seconds. Like it's an actual stretch, and you're doing it for a purpose, not just because it feels good sometimes. You know?
I think if you like looking at the structure of the class, a lot of what we do in CrossFit is more front loaded in terms of like the warm up and just getting things moving properly to do what we're going to do. Whereas opposed to BeachFit, the warm up's a little shorter, and we're more like just kind of getting you warmed up, getting you hot, and then we go into the workout. And then at the end, we usually tackle some very necessary mobility and flexibility issues, because for a lot of our people over there, it's conditioning and it's flexibility. And that's what's really hindering them from moving forward in their progress in terms of getting healthier. And for many of them, that's what they're missing to really get started into like a CrossFit program the right way, the way we see it, and the way that it should be done in terms of the progression. We see tackling conditioning and flexibility and movement issues first, and we have a little bit more of a, how I want to say this, more of a controlled scenario over there where we can really focus on that stuff, and we know what we're not doing, and so we can kind of focus on the things that we know people need to get, and then we can transition them sometimes over into CrossFit a lot better than just throwing them right into CrossFit.
So you mentioned the term aerobic. I don't know if you want to dive into it a little bit. Like what does that mean specifically? I think that people hear that a lot. They might not fully understand what that means. How does that differ from a CrossFit workout if it's more of an aerobic workout?
Kind of Zach touched on the aerobic side. So you have your anaerobic and you have your aerobic workouts, and CrossFit dabbles in both of them. The more on the BeachFit side, if you're hitting the aerobic workouts, they tend to be longer. They tend to be not so CrossFit-esque, that really high intensity, kind of like a moderate intensity or low intensity, sustained for a certain amount of time, usually a long period of time, 8 minutes plus, 10 minutes plus. And usually BeachFit workouts are about that. If they're intervals, they're doing like 3 sets of 8-minute AMRAPs or 15-minute AMRAP, 20-minute AMRAP, sometimes even longer. So
like today's workout.
Yeah, like today's
4
workout.
sets of 8 minutes.
And so aerobic would be longer, maybe lighter, and that might be up that BeachFit alley.
Yeah, I think the thing you said, sustainable, is that word. You can sustain that intensity, whereas CrossFit, you're almost like begging for that AMRAP to end, or that fifth round to come, so you can finish because you just got nothing left.
Yeah, and definitely that intensity factor, because like in CrossFit, when we have like a 2 or 3 minute AMRAP, your intensity is so high that you can't sustain it, and maybe next door on the BeachFit side, you can sustain that intensity for a given time.
Yeah, I mean, Zach and I were actually just talking about this the other day, and going like off of a workout we did on Tuesday, and the plan I had this week's programming, and like the way we programmed it was to complete X amount of movements in X amount of time, and then immediately it's like in an EMOM format. It was every 4 minutes, so going in that format, and it was very difficult for a lot of people. And my goal of doing stuff like that is to eventually make it a little bit more rest between. But the thing is, that intensity factor is like, if we did it here, people would get that done in 2 minutes, and then have like that 3 minutes of rest or whatever the time limit is, and like it's that intensity. So you don't reach that intensity of it. So with that, we found other ways to go about it, and making it like on Monday's workout was very similar, except it was every minute on the minute, and that intensity was brought for that because they knew they had to do it, and they're like, it's only 50 feet. We can do that for 50 feet. And like that, it was a whole different Monday BeachFit than it was that we ever had. Like people were hurting, and it was one class, but like it was like, all right, I feel good, like that's one, like something we've communicated on since the beginning of it. Was like, we want everyone to like to get a lot done, and to really feel like they feel accomplished after it, to where they're not like dead, like where they're like CrossFit, like you literally are crawling off the ground. There they might be because like maybe a little bit more out of shape, but it's more like, I'm done. Wow, today was a good day. Like, can't wait for every other day or whatever they're doing, So like that's our big goal for our classes when we're trying to make that happen for the program.
Yeah, there's definitely a good amount of days that have that element of what people would consider like a CrossFit-like intensity. I think the biggest misconception with BeachFit is probably that some people think it's easy. Some people haven't even tried it. They just think it's easy. Maybe it's the name, maybe it's just the fact that they've been doing CrossFit for a while and they've never tried BeachFit, but it's definitely not easy by any means.
It's definitely not easy.
And especially if you're an athlete who is a little bit more powerful, a little bit more strong, you don't have that aerobic base build up, and you know, those longer workouts, even if the intensity is low, can be very, very difficult. Who do you guys see as kind of like the ideal BeachFit person? Who's going to benefit from BeachFit the most?
I mean, I think there's two prime examples, and there's other people that fall in there. We have our normal average person that comes in there, which is really we have a big mom scene. We have a lot of moms, we have a lot of moms with young children that are coming in there. For the most part, that's probably 85, but higher 80% of our clients there. But we do have we've found a newer clientele of our competitive athletes have been coming over there a lot too, and again, just because they're seeing but they also don't have the mindset of they have it more this is just easy, I just want to move today, which it can be, but it also is it's that intensity and doing it with that. But we've been seeing a nice mixture lately of those two, and then obviously there's other people that fall into place in there, but our most people right now is that some people that do our competitive team stuff here and also the stuff over there they throw in there on our Thursdays, which would be their active day. They come over and get some sled work done.
Yeah, we found it's great active recovery for our competitive athletes over here. CrossFit guys go over there on Thursday. We've actually had a couple of them stop in on Monday and Tuesday, do maybe 2 days a week. Not that it's going to prepare them to compete in CrossFit by doing BeachFit all the time, but some of them that lack that aerobic base, it gives them an opportunity to build on that and work on that on certain days. They don't want to be over there every day, but we can pick and choose certain workouts that might help certain athletes get better. If you're, for example, if you're somebody, we met the other day, the guy runs the Spartan races. He did really well. He runs around that circuit for 30 minutes, and it's not a problem for him. But if we put him in the CrossFit, and he's got some of that conditioning, we put him in CrossFit, it gets very challenging. That gets very intense for him. Whereas he goes over to BeachFit, it's not intense at all. That's just another workout for him. Where some of our stronger athletes over here, we bring them over to the BeachFit side, and a workout that is longer and more aerobic, it's very intense for them. And sometimes we've had some of them stop and go outside.
Stupid.
This is dumb. Well, obviously running around in circles every single day is not going to get you where you want to be either for that athlete, but there is benefit there for that athlete for sure.
It's definitely a good program for someone who's just looking to get started.
Yes.
It's pretty basic. It's easy to learn. They can come in right off the street, not do anything, and be okay in a class rather than have that happen in a CrossFit class. I mean, we don't have that happen for a reason, for safety reasons and coaching purposes and stuff like that. But the BeachFit program is a great way for someone to get started.
I think a lot of people are starting to know that it's a policy here for us at CrossFit Palm Beach to have people either do some sort of intro process or intro before we throw them into the class. I hate saying throw them in, but it's kind of what it is. We throw them into the class instead of giving them some sort of introduction to what we're doing. If we have somebody who just randomly shows up and we don't think that it would be appropriate for them to come in the CrossFit workout, it's a great way to we say, hey, go over to BeachFit, do a workout over there. At least you'll get a good workout in for the day, and then we'll schedule you for an intro, and then we can get them into CrossFit if that's what they want to do. So that's another thing that's been really good for us. And then what B was talking about, bringing in somebody that's new, especially somebody whose goal is to do CrossFit, but they haven't worked out in a year. We'd like to get them in there and just get them moving and see how they respond to some sort of more body weight workouts instead of actual load and technique stuff that we're doing over here.
Yeah, they don't really need a background of any sort. They can just come on in and try the BeachFit. They could be sitting on their couch for the last 15 years doing nothing, and just a great way to get started. You don't need to be fit to do BeachFit.
No.
You just got to come on in and go at your own pace, right?
I mean, that's why we came up with it, was to come up with something that would be fun and that would be intense enough where people could start to make some progress, but also not quite as intense with the load and with the barbell movement, so that we could attract some other people that want to get what CrossFit can offer, but they're not quite willing to go to the Olympic stuff yet, which is fine. I mean, some people are not into it or they're not comfortable doing it. And if that's the case, then we can help them start this fitness journey right away instead of waiting until they're ready to do something they're not comfortable with.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think that, like, you know, especially with CrossFit too, any workout is what you make of it. You know, it's what you put into it, and that's the same on the BeachFit side as well. But I think one of the things that makes it so appealing for beginners and so successful with beginners is there's not that pressure to always do more. And that's one of the positives and also the negatives on the CrossFit side of things. We have the scaled and the RX and the RTG, and some people that pushes them in a good way, and some people take that a little too far and they try to bite off a little bit more than they're ready for. Whereas with, you know, the BeachFit side of things, being a beginner in that environment, there isn't that added pressure to add the weight and do certain things too quickly. And I think the majority of the people we see, they always want to go faster than they should rather than slow. I mean, very rarely as coaches are we having to push someone to do more in terms of weight and reps and things like that. A lot of times we're trying to rein people in, get them to do something that's appropriate for them today, and realize that, you know, fitness is a long-term thing. It's a journey. It's not just something you can do well for a month or two and then you made it. So
I think that's a great point, because what makes CrossFit in here so great is the whiteboard and the accountability, and saying, what was your score? I'm not sure that was your score. What was your score? No, what really was it? And then we put it down, and that is your score, and everyone has to look at it. And it holds you accountable. It makes you be honest with yourself and honest with the people that you train with. And there is a little bit of that pressure there, and that's good. I think that's a good thing. I think we all agree with that in here. But it's also what makes that great is that there is no whiteboard. And so the people that come in there, they can work hard, they can do whatever they do in the workout, and it's not going to get recorded at the end. And for a little bit of time, I think that is a good thing for people, to not worry about what they have to record for the workout and just do their best. Do the best that you can for the hour, and just let me and Dom handle what you're doing. Just do it. Just lace up, show up. You don't need any prior training. Just come in and do it.
Yeah, I think what we've been trying to do also is, like we're saying, like a lot of aerobic base building, and we've been doing like mile testers and that stuff. That's the one, like, couple things that if you want to know your times, we leave it on the board, because everyone that has started this has, like, PR, like Muggs, for instance, got her, it was like 3-4 minutes, like her mile was dropped, which is like, that's remarkable. Like, that's
a lot of
amazing, because her mile wasn't that slow before. Like, that's just really fast, like a lot of time off of that, you know. So just seeing that and like being able to do that, if you want, it's like if you want to count, cool. Like, we're not going to write it down, but like, it's awesome, good for you. And then some people just write it down because they're proud of it, which is really awesome. Good. Like, to see that they're proud of that moment. I love that, and I think that's huge. And I think we all mentioned this. I think all of us mentioned this in some different way, but like the intensity factor is that, like, you, like in CrossFit and BeachFit, you can make it as intense as you want. It, like, whether it's you claim to it's easy or not, but like, if you think that is easy, you're not going hard enough. Like, you're just not. And if you are going as hard as you possibly think you are, ask the coach and see if you can change one thing to make it that much more intense. Like, that's another thing about BeachFit is we are very scalable, and so is CrossFit, but we do it a little bit differently, where there's not a lot more options. Like, we make it a little bit more like, kind of, you do this or this, and then depending on some injuries, like, go that way. But like CrossFit, there's a lot more things you can do because of use of barbells, that type of thing. We're trying to make it a little bit more simplistic, so where the average Joe isn't doing some wild thing with some bands or like stuff like that, just because, like, it's not needed. None of those people are trying. Well, average is not trying to go win the Olympics. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's a really broad fitness. We're not trying to take it to that next level necessarily. You touched on it a little bit, Dominic, in terms of how competitive athletes are kind of mixing in BeachFit. But you have, a lot of our CrossFitters are going to listen to this. If I'm a CrossFit person that's coming 4 to 6 days a week, maybe I haven't done BeachFit yet, how can I mix it in? Should I mix it in? Is there a way I can mix it in where it's gonna benefit my CrossFit? It's gonna make it, make just my experience more fun as a whole. What do you guys think about that?
Yeah, go ahead.
I think it's a good idea. A lot of people think that BeachFit is just bodyweight movements, and that's not comparable to CrossFit at all. But you are lifting weight. You're lifting kettlebells. You're lifting dumbbells. You're lifting sandbags, D-balls, sleds. You're doing weight-bearing movements, and I think go for it. I mean, add it in on a Wednesday or a Thursday or whatever day you want, and see if you like it. It'll probably give you a different style workout that you're not used to, and kind of change up your game a little bit. And so get that variety in there and see what you like.
Yeah, and if you are actually really into CrossFit and you watch the CrossFit games, they don't do a whole lot of barbell stuff. Like, it's not just barbell stuff. Like, I honestly think there's more not barbell movements in the games now than back in the day. Like, there's a lot more odd objects. And what we do over there is we, like Brendan was saying, with the slam balls, the whatever,
The
sandbags,
sleds show up every year at the games.
We do the sleds once every single week in some order, like some way. Then we do like a lot of like movement stuff. Like we had, like I really like programming bear crawls in there. We did forwards bear crawl, backwards bear crawl. It was horrible. Like everyone in there was like, this is awful. Like and it's like, and it reads so like, a minute of bear crawl.
It's very simplistic,
stupid,
but
like,
it's not
it's
easy
awful
to do.
Like, it just, I don't want to do that. But like when I do that, I'm like, wow, like that sucked. But you feel really good after it. Like it's that functional movement helping you get ready for different. It's just teaches you the way to move your body in different ways. So if you're running and you trip and you can crawl out of it, whatever. It's just like something stupid like that. But like it's just helping you do different things. Get outside your comfort zone of whether it's CrossFit or whatever it is. Just get outside that comfort zone and just like we say in here, leave your ego at the door and go have fun. Like do something different.
It could even get you better for CrossFit. Like Murph. Murph's a long workout. You've got all the movements you do in BeachFit, but it's a CrossFit workout, and we're doing it in BeachFit.
And that's, it's funny you say that, because right before Murph, we had the most CrossFitters in our class for about that week or so, and they're just like, we want to get a little bit more prepared for Murph. Okay, good. They could utilize that class for that time for a specific thing. I also think too, with the going back to your question about how can a competitive athlete over here at CrossFit determine like how to use BeachFit, and kind of brings me to another point, which is a great part of BeachFit is we plan it. We plan it a couple weeks in advance, like at least a week in advance. So every week when the CrossFit workouts come out, so do the BeachFit workouts, and they're right there on the blog. So one, we've thought about it, we're planning it, and we're really looking at what they're doing. But at the same time, you can pick a workout and say, all right, well, Monday they're doing all kettlebell swings and squats and this and that, and then Tuesday is a long circuit of just body weight movement and running and bike, or maybe there's a row and a bike, or it's just a lot of aerobic endurance type stuff. Maybe that's the workout for you, and kind of every week say, okay, well, what day are they doing that style of workout? Because every week we do some sort of circular thing that just goes around and around, and it's very aerobic and it's very long. It's usually 30 to 35 minutes long. And that's the workout where I can think of some specific athletes in here that I've told to do this. And on Sunday night, they go look, and they go, okay, Wednesday's that workout. Wednesday's going to be my day. Or Thursday's that workout, or whatever it is. But kind of looking at it and saying, well, I don't need to go do more kettlebell swings and wall balls that day, and that's what they're doing on Monday. But Tuesday, it's all jump ropes and rowing and burpees. Okay, I'm going to go that day and work on those things. So I think that's a good way to do it for the people over here in CrossFit.
Definitely. One of the things also that I've noticed with the BeachFit program is there's a lot more core specific movements.
Yeah.
We do a lot of core workouts. I notice if there's extra time some days and you don't want to spend all that time on stretching, you guys will throw on a core WOD. Seems like it's a couple days a week that they're doing that. And I think especially for the beginners, probably injury wise, if you look at CrossFit, BeachFit as a whole, or just life as a whole, back is such a key thing. Back injuries come up all the time, and to create that base of developing a strong core, the awareness around how am I moving my core, protecting my spine is key. And it's something that, all of us can benefit, whether you're a beginner or an elite athlete. I don't think you can ever have too strong of a core.
No, I mean, our guys in BeachFit are doing hollow holds, arch holds, you know, flutter kicks,
Side
crab
planks.
hold, side planks, all these different, either gymnastic or a lot of them have some sort of gymnastic element to them. And so we believe in it because we're CrossFit coaches, and we've done that style of program, so we really like it. But at the same time, we know that it's going to build up not only the anterior but also that posterior strength, and allow them, again, if they want to, they can then go on to CrossFit and be built up structurally a little bit better to do CrossFit. You know, if you've never deadlifted or hinged or done anything, I mean, we go over hinging movements quite a bit with kettlebell. We deadlift kettlebells, we deadlift dumbbells, we do kettlebell swings, Russian kettlebell swings. We do a lot of that. But it's just nice to know how to hinge before you go into CrossFit. And a lot of people, like myself, I didn't really understand what a hinging movement was or how to do it when I came into CrossFit. And you guys know I have a lot of back injuries and issues that I've dealt with. So, for me, on a personal basis, it's kind of just a thing that I want to push to them, is just strengthening not just your abdomen, not just having like a six-pack, but also having a strong back and a strong torso and trunk, so that you can stay injury free.
Yeah, and the big thing where, like, I know, like, for when I go to focus in on it, like, I'd like to target the obliques, and like that's the biggest thing, the most underworked thing in all of fitness. And whether people are doing those weird side bends or whatever, but like everyone like tries to work them, but it's not to that extent. Like they'll do it one day out of the week, and they'll do like 80 of them, and then never do it again. You know, so we have taken a lot of consideration, like doing side planks, doing farmers carries, doing that type of midline stuff, where it's not like essentially a core, it's your whole entire midline. So it's this entire trunk base, and then we really watch that and make sure it's covered, not daily, but for the most part, like there's something in every day that is targeted for that midline area, whether like, which is, I mean, really, if you look at any class, there's some, like if you're squatting, that's a midline, like you're doing something with your midline, but it's more of we're talking more like targeted, like we're focused on that.
Awesome. All right, I think that wraps it up. Anything you guys want to add?
Come to BeachFit. It's awesome.
Come try it out.
You can always try your first class for free, so we'll see you guys there.
See ya.